Oshkosh Media is government programming on GovTV, community programming on Life TV, and community radio on Oshkosh FM 101.9.
Welcome to the City Manager's Report, a look at city updates and a preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda.
Hello and welcome to the City Manager's Report. I am your host, Andy Radig, and I'm joined today by your City Manager for the City of Oshkosh, Mark Roloff. Welcome, Mark.
Great to be here, Andy.
All right, well, last week we had a new host, and the host is still here, and this week we have a new set. So
all predetermined before you were here, but I guess this is your welcoming gift to back to the city of Oshkosh, Andy.
I think so, something like that. But I know that this set will allow Oshkosh Media to be able to provide more programming and more flexibility, more efficient use of the space. And I also need to give a shout out to Jake and to Scott for all the work that they've been doing behind the scenes, especially in the control room, where there's been a lot of work done with some new equipment and kind of a state-of-the-art broadcast facility there that will allow us to bring some new features and some additional programming to everybody. So just wanted to point out what we've got going on here. But it's kind of exciting to be in a new environment, so looking forward to that. So in today's program, the first half of the show, we'll be talking about some municipal news updates going on in the Oshkosh area. And in the second half, we'll talk about some agenda highlights from the May 26th Common Council meeting. So we've got a lot to talk about today, Mark, so let's get right into it. The first thing, we've been doing updates about COVID-19 situation, and so at the moment, the safer at home orders have been rescinded, and but City Hall remains closed to public access.
Yeah, this has been about a little over a week now where the Supreme Court ruling had rescinded the safer at home orders, and then the county went back and forth basically trying to get an interpretation. Regardless of all those ups and downs that everybody went through, we're still in the midst of a public health emergency, and we still need to be very cautious about how we move forward. And towards that end, as you suggested, City Hall remains closed to public access, but we are still open for business. Our people are here regular hours, taking a lot of phone calls, a lot of questions, a lot of online. People have been adjusting to this, which is a good thing, and we absolutely appreciate it. As people are still maybe a little hesitant to go out, we want to make sure that they can still conduct city business. So we're taking a phased-in approach with all of our public buildings. We're evaluating all of them, and we'll be reporting to council as we make decisions on how and when we're going to reopen. It's not going to be all open one day and everything. It's going to be more of a gradual approach, offer a few services immediately, but we'll be letting people know as things start to unfold.
Okay, and speaking of council meetings, will those be looking any different, or will that layout remain the same?
For now, that layout's going to remain the same. We still are allowing not just our council meetings, but all our board and commission meetings, if we're even having them, to allow members to go virtual. So we've got the capability of doing so. It's been working pretty well. It's not perfect, but the idea is so that people can get the proper social distance. Our council chambers for the meetings, we've kind of spread out a little wider, and it's enabling people to comfortably go there with health and safety in mind, and we're going to keep doing that for the foreseeable future. And if we make a change, we'll let everybody know.
Sure, okay. And along with that, I know that some city departments are coming out with some plans for a phased approach to their reopening. The library, the Parks Department.
Those are two of the ones because it's so important for us to make sure that your experience either at the library or the parks is both safe as well as enjoyable, or whatever you're seeking, fulfilling. The Parks Department has been getting out some information. While we're still discouraging people from going to the parks because there are still social distancing requirements, and we cannot police the parks 24 hours a day. So while we're discouraging people to go, we know that some people just want to get out, and we understand that as well, especially with Memorial Day weekend really being the unofficial start of the summer. We know people are going to want to go out. So please check out the Parks Department's been putting out some things to do to be safe, to be careful. We encourage people to bring hand sanitizer and even some wipes, because when you get there, you don't know how recent somebody been using the site. So you want to make sure that we're dealing with that. But we'll eventually be opening up our tennis courts, our pickleball courts, and things like that, but we want to be careful. So similarly, other facilities that we know are going to be problematic, such as Pollock Pool. Pollock Pool, we've made the very difficult decision that we're not going to be opening it for the summer. And that's all about reviewing Center for Disease Control guidelines, and it's almost impossible for us to meet the guidelines and truly be able to look somebody in the eye and say, this is going to be safe. Logistically, it was also a problem because we get a pretty high turnover, because who staffs the playgrounds, or the pool in this case, are typically teenagers or younger people, but their turnover is pretty high. They go and get another job. Sometimes it's their first job. But the school district is the one that trains them, and they usually train them in April and May, and obviously they couldn't do that because they were closed. So staffing-wise, we were going to have a difficulty anyway. So we've made the difficult decision not to open Pollock Water Park, but other things will be open. We think we can get the zoo open with some good safety features. The playgrounds will be open, but we want people to be careful. So that's why we're getting these guidelines out. So I'd encourage people to look for those.
Mm-hmm. And then looking at the local business side of this, what's happening with bars and restaurants?
Well, bars and restaurants, the restrictions were lifted, but obviously businesses want to make sure that they're still providing safe surroundings for people to go. So we had some discussions with the Convention and Visitors Bureau and the Winnebago Oshkosh Tavern League, as well as some restaurateurs, and they gave us some ideas on things that they would like to do to be able to let their customers come back. One of the things we recognized was giving them more space so they could spread out. Mm-hmm. And with liquor licenses, that's often restrictive because the area that you can serve alcohol is extremely defined, and you can't go past that. What Council has approved in a special meeting just this week are something called temporary use permits that staff can issue with very little time for turnaround purposes. So we will work with you to identify a location, and if it's generally safe, we'll work with you to approve those things, so you can maybe use part of the sidewalk. If you've got a neighbor who's willing to, in a commercial area, a parking lot or something like that, we're going to work with you to try to expand your area. And those folks have been basically shut down since the beginning of the emergency. So if we're going to open up, we have to do it as safely as we can. And we want to make that easier for people. They're still not going to be able to get to full capacity, but at least they'll be able to serve their customers a little easier. And the customers can go there with a little peace of mind, knowing that the business has been looking out for them and will continue to do everything they can to keep it safe and clean for everybody.
Mm-hmm. And just to clarify, this doesn't expand their seating capacity, but rather this expands their footprint of their area.
Right. The capacity is going to remain the same,
Okay.
and I suspect they're not going to still not get all the maximum capacity that they currently have. I think that's unrealistic, but it'll help it a little better, and we're happy to do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Another thing, talking about business, is that there's a city emergency response loan fund that is available, and some folks from the Habitat for Humanity Restore were able to secure one of those loans, and I believe we have a soundbite that they talk a little bit about what they were able to secure as a loan and a little bit about the program. If we have that ready, we could take a look at that.
And we'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Greater Oshkosh Economic Development Corporation for giving us a loan to fix our Restore truck. Liz called me then, and we were in a situation where we had the Payment Protection Program loan, but unfortunately it's really restricted on the uses that the loan applied to. So we needed funding fast. And I called the Greater Oshkosh Economic Development Corporation, and within 2 hours I had a loan application for their COVID emergency fund. Within 72 hours I was on a conference call with a group reviewing the loans, and I could call Liz and tell her we had the money to get the truck fixed.
So Mark, if you're able to give us any more details on that program.
This is the program that council had approved, taking some funds from our tax increment districts and redirecting them. Some of our expired districts, we had put money into a separate revolving loan fund program a few years ago. We allocated money out of that program, and it's administered by the Greater Oshkosh Economic Development Corporation. And what these loans are, it's intended to give people anywhere from a $2,500 to a $10,000 loan for their business to cover costs that may not be covered by the federal government, but fixed costs, whether it's payroll or equipment, as in that case, equipment repair, or insurance, mortgage, rent, things like that, so that you can keep going and perhaps save you from perhaps going under. And that's what this is about, trying to help businesses survive in this economy.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we wanted to remind folks that there are resources available on the city's website at ci.oshkosh.wi.us with more information about programs such as that. And we will also be posting updates on reopenings and other details about things that are happening with regard to COVID-19. Those will be posted forthcoming on the city's website. So keep your eyes open for that. I guess we also wanted to touch on some other updates regarding the sanitation department. And we wanted to remind folks that yard waste stickers are still available.
Yeah, yard waste stickers, even though you can't come to City Hall, you can still order them online or mail in to us. And you can also get them at Kits and File. But really what's interesting is people are busy while they're staying home. And one of the indicators is how much garbage and recycling is getting generated. So we wanted to share some statistics with you from our sanitation division. But our garbage and recycling, what we did was a comparison of April of 2019 to April of 2020. And you see the 3-year average from 2017 to 2019 and what it was for 2020. And you can see that there's over a 20% increase for both garbage and recycling tonnage for April. Now, I'm guessing that number one, a lot of people are home, so they're maybe doing spring cleaning a little more in a concentrated fashion. But green waste as well. Green waste is even bigger increase. And the yard waste facility is open on 3rd Avenue, but we had an astounding 65.5% increase in tonnage of yard waste.
Yeah, that's really something.
People are working. They're keeping themselves busy, and so that's great. But we want to make sure if you haven't done it yet, if you're not part of that 65% increase, you can still get your yard waste permit either at Kits and File or mailing your application into the city, and we'll get you there, and you can get your spring cleaning done. It seems like that's what everybody's wanting to do these days.
Mm-hmm. I was one of those folks and took part of that, so that's partly due to me as well. We want to talk about the Oshkosh Avenue Bridge update. I know that people are concerned about when that will be opening up, and we're still looking at mid-June, I understand?
It's still mid-June. Originally the date was June 18th. I think we're going to meet or beat that. So just keep your eyes and ears open for that. But the bridge project, we hear that the concrete work is ongoing and it's getting close to finishing out. But the bridge remains out, and the detour, I think people have pretty much figured out the detours around these days. But it is open. The bridge will open up for navigational traffic between 8 a.m. and midnight. So for those boaters who are out there or who want to get out there, you'll know that you can still use that. But project's on schedule, so keep watching, and you'll hear from us when we have an exact date out there for everybody to share with. this is a state project, so we're getting this information from the state of Wisconsin Department of Transportation.
Okay, very good. And we're coming up on Memorial Day, and so there is no Memorial Day procession this year.
Sadly, because of the COVID-19 emergency, and so many of the people that participate in this event are in a group that's vulnerable. So the procession that we've had in the past has been canceled, but we are still going to have some televising of the events, and the reading of the names over at South Park and the laying of the wreaths, as well as the memorial service. Those will all be recorded by our folks here at Oshkosh Media, and then they're going to be replayed, so people at home can watch them and still have some connection with Memorial Day. It's a very solemn day in our country, and it's important. So Memorial Day, 1 p.m., 5 p.m., and 9 p.m. will be the replays, and then the day after, Tuesday, at 12 p.m. and 4 p.m. So please be on the lookout for those, and it's a great way to honor those who sacrificed for our country.
Mm-hmm. And those replays will also be available online on our website at oshkoshmedia.org and on our YouTube channel. So if you happen to be watching after the fact, after Memorial Day, check out for schedule information on the website, and you'll be able to watch that online or find replay times again on GovTV. So we're very happy to make those available for folks in the community here. And then also talking about Memorial Day, we have a few things that are kind of changed. These are sort of annual things that happen regarding garbage and Go Transit.
Yeah, well, as usual, Go Transit will not be operating on Memorial Day, and garbage and recycling will not take place on Monday as well. And then, of course, it's always moved back one day later than usual. And those folks who have refuse and/or recycling on Friday, their collection day will be on Saturday. So we just want to remind everybody about that so they can plan accordingly with their Memorial Day weekend.
Okay, very good. Well, I think this is a good point to take a break, and so we'll be back right after this quick break on the City Manager's Report to talk about the Tuesday, the 26th council meeting.
We grew up together. We believed in something bigger than ourselves. The military took me to one side of the world and her to the other. And even though she was always the strong one, when we caught up years later, I found out she had fallen on some hard times. It was her call to make, but doing it together made all the difference.
For veterans who are homeless or on the brink of homelessness, call 877-424-3838.
Noises like that used to make me hit the deck, but now I can keep going.
Don't get me wrong, I still don't love crowded places, but it's good to get out again.
Transitioning from the military can be tough, but many veterans are facing similar challenges. Visit MakeTheConnection.net to watch our stories and learn ways to create the story you want to live. Make the Connection.
And welcome back to the City Manager's Report. I'm Andy Radig, along with City Manager for the City of Oshkosh, Mark Roloff. And we're talking today about the Tuesday, May 26th Oshkosh Common Council meeting. We'll take a look at some agenda highlights, and we might as well dive right into it, Mark. We've got, the first thing is a development that is being planned out on Witzel Avenue.
Yeah, it's a 2600 block of Witzel Avenue. There's actually 3 items on this evening's agenda. There'll be a public hearing, which people can provide virtual comments by submitting them to my office and get that information in there. But in the 2600 block of Witzel, it's just east of Oakwood and a little bit west of the residential area along West Haven. So the whole idea there is to provide a multifamily housing development, relatively low density, maybe about 8 units per acre. But 3 things need to take place. First, we have to get a comprehensive land use amendment, and then there's some right-of-way dedication that has to occur along Witzel Avenue because that's a fairly wide street, and so the developer will be dedicating some property there. And then lastly, the rezoning of the property. So all three of those things will be taking place and three separate items on the agenda.
And the site plan is forthcoming.
Yeah, the site plan will still be submitted by the developer. I think we've gotten some preliminary items there, but the whole idea is to get the zoning and the land use done first, and then they'll bring the site plan forward at a later time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Another item, we have a renovation of a public restroom at a local park.
The Parks Department has regularly submitted restroom renovation projects as part of their park master plan for the entire community. And this year, Spanbauer Field restrooms are the next project up on the docket. We're excited that we're going to be able to get Spanbauer Field taken care of. The restrooms there have quite a bit of age on it, and it's about a $109,000 bid that we're awarding there on Tuesday night, and excited to get that done because I know the people that use Spanbauer Field, they've indicated a need to get that redone. It's long overdue, and so this is, again, it's part of the Park Master Plan, which we're just methodically going through some projects every year.
Mm-hmm. And it'll be good to see that get accomplished. For those of us that remember Mabel Murphys down on Main Street, there's a conditional use permit for that property.
Yeah, it sure is, and we do have some footage and some history of the sort of the demise of the previous Mabel Murphys. There's the iconic sign that everybody remembers from that, but it certainly was a tragedy when Mabel's burned down. It was an icon in the area. Many UWO students have fond memories of it, but it was also a neighborhood destination for adults in Oshkosh, and those were the remnants of Mabel Murphys. But I'm so proud of the fact that these folks have decided that they want to resurrect Mabel Murphys, and so on the agenda is a conditional use permit for them to do that, because you're not used to necessarily having buildings built like this anymore where you have it right up to the sidewalk and things like that. Mm-hmm. It's really encouraging that they believe in the downtown, that they're willing to do that. So my hat's off to them for being able to do that. But they've got some neat plans that I was able to take a look at. They're going to have some outdoor area there to the north, and so people will be able to enjoy it outside and just make sure they have a good experience and keep something in downtown Oshkosh and reinvesting in downtown Oshkosh, even in the tragedy that the fire was. So I'm very excited and pleased that they were willing and able to do this.
Mm-hmm. It'll be exciting to watch that as it develops, so we'll keep an eye on that.
Many fond memories for a lot of people in town with that.
Oh, you bet, you bet. And then we're talking about a railroad crossing closure, temporary, over on Oakwood Road.
Yeah, you may recall late last year we started to get some questions and some complaints of people driving on Oakwood Road where the railroad crossing, it's just south of 20th and north of Badger Avenue, where that was a pretty bumpy ride, and those folks were right. We reached out to Wisconsin and Southern Railroad because the railroad crossing is their responsibility, and they agreed that some work needs to get done. So as a result of that, they're planning to do that hopefully in June. But one of the things they asked is that we have a full closure of South Oakwood Road at that location. And anytime that's done, that does require formal city council approval. And so that's on the agenda as an ordinance to get done. And after the ordinance gets approved, then they'll schedule the closure. But we're happy it's getting done because it does get a lot of traffic, especially out to the Southwest Industrial Park, and we want it to be safe for people who are riding, riding bikes, walking, as well as vehicles that are crossing as well. So we're very pleased with Wisconsin and Southern Railroad. They've been working closely with us on a lot of projects, and they were very responsive to us in this case.
Okay, and so it would be closed for probably about 7 days, and we don't really have any exact dates yet.
Right. I think the key is it'll be open for closed for 7 days. So once they have that all scheduled, we'll push that out through Oshkosh Media and social media and let people know. So keep your eyes and ears open for it, and we'll keep you posted.
Okay, very good. Then we're looking at waiving interest and penalty fees for late property tax installments.
This is another one of those issues that came about as a result of the COVID-19 emergency. We talked earlier in the program about programs that we did for businesses, whether it was a loan program for businesses or even some of the relaxation of the footprint for liquor licenses. But for residents, there aren't many programs available. So many cities approached the state of Wisconsin and asked them to give us the ability to waive interest and penalties, because we had people coming up immediately after the emergency started in March and said, can you do something for us? And we don't have the ability to do it ourselves, but the state does give that capability. One of the little twists on this is outside of our circles, people don't realize that the county does end up holding the liability for unpaid property tax bills. And so part of the provision that the state approved was that you must get your local county to approve this as well. So we made a request, and some of our local county supervisors brought it forward to the full county board, and they approved it the other evening. So we're bringing it to council to say we'd like permission to be able to do this. And this will allow people who are on the 4 installment plan, where property taxes are due on May 31, they'll be, if they can't pay it, and if you can, we absolutely encourage you to do it. But if you're in some hard times, we want you to be able to not worry about that. Worry about things, feeding your family, things that are more important, and you'll pay your taxes eventually. This extends it to October 1st. It doesn't indefinitely extend it, but it gives you the capability to get it done.
Okay, all right. The next item folks might be kind of excited about, we're looking at a developer's agreement for a national coffee chain.
Well, it's about time that we're able to get the cat out of the bag. I know Steve Hoopman has been working on the development of this site just adjacent to Lakeshore Park and the Oshkosh Corporation site over there on Oshkosh Avenue. And this was the rendering that they brought us, and it says just in big letters, coffee, and they just referred to a national coffee chain. Well, now the word is out that Dunkin Donuts has decided to put a location here right there on Oshkosh Avenue near I-41. So I know a lot of people will be excited about that. But the idea is that there are going to be a couple lots there, and this is going to enable this development to take place. Here's an office building that's also being proposed. Some businesses will be locating there. I believe a national CPA firm is going to be there. We're looking forward to all those happening in the coming months. So look for these developments to occur very soon, and this is just one step in the process for the development agreement to get amended so they can get this done. Okay, very good. It looks like we might have just a quick minute here to squeak in some information about a cooperative purchase. Every year we have a series of vehicles that get replaced. In this case, we have a van for the electric division, a pickup truck at the fire department, and another truck chassis for the parks department. We work with the state of Wisconsin. They put together bid specifications, and if it's a vehicle that we're interested in, they do a bidding statewide and award a single bid, and then we purchase off that. So it saves the taxpayers a great deal of money, and we're happy to be part of that program. Okay, very good. Well, I think our time is up, so we'll wrap it up here at that. Thanks again, Mark, for being here today. It's always a pleasure, Andy. All right, thank you. And again, the Oshkosh Common Council meeting will be on Tuesday, May 26th at 6 p.m. You can watch that meeting live on GovTV, that's Spectrum Channel 10, UVerse Channel 99, and streaming live on oshkoshmedia.org. You can also use your favorite streaming device to watch, including a Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. And you can also listen to it on Oshkosh FM 101.9, which is also online, and on the TuneIn radio app for mobile devices. Can always watch programming from the Oshkosh Media full library on YouTube.
But thanks again for watching the City Manager's Report, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with another new program. Take care, everyone.